How could a major power like France, with one of the largest armies in Europe, fall in just 6 weeks? This question has haunted historians and military strategists for decades, and the answer lies in a perfect storm of innovation, miscalculation, and shock. In 1940, the world watched in disbelief as France, a nation that had withstood years of brutal trench warfare in World War I, was overrun in a matter of days. This wasn't a slow, grinding war of attrition like the world had seen before. Instead, it was Blitzkrieg, lightning war, a revolutionary new approach that changed everything. Gone were the days of static trenches and drawn-out battles. Germany unleashed a doctrine built on speed, surprise, and psychological shock, catching the Allies completely off guard. Tanks and aircraft weren't just supporting the infantry, they were the spearhead, massed into powerful panzer divisions that could smash through defenses with overwhelming force. These armored spearheads, backed by relentless dive bombers and fast-moving motorized infantry, punched through enemy lines and raced deep into the rear, severing supply lines, isolating units, and spreading confusion. The goal wasn't to destroy every enemy soldier, but to paralyze the entire command structure, making it impossible for the defenders to coordinate or respond effectively. Blitzkrieg turned the strengths of entrenched armies like strong defensive lines and careful planning into fatal weaknesses, making them slow, rigid, and unable to adapt to the rapidly changing battlefield. It was a strategy perfectly suited for the machine age, and in the early years of World War II, it left the Allies scrambling, their old tactics rendered obsolete almost overnight. The world had never seen war move this fast, columns of tanks and trucks racing across the countryside, entire armies outflanked before they could even react. France's collapse in 1940 was just the beginning of a new era of warfare, one that would force every nation to rethink how wars were fought, and how quickly the balance of power could shift. Blitzkrieg means lightning war, a name that stuck because it captured the shock, awe, and sheer velocity of Germany's early attacks in World War II. The word itself conjures images of unstoppable force, of armies moving with a speed and coordination that seemed almost supernatural to those who witnessed it. German tanks and troops surged forward, overwhelming defenses before the enemy could even organize a response. The speed of these attacks left entire nations reeling, unable to comprehend how quickly their lines had been breached. Interestingly, the German High Command didn't actually use the term Blitzkrieg themselves. It was popularized by journalists and war correspondents who were desperate to describe this new, terrifying style of warfare. The word quickly spread, capturing the imagination of the public and military strategists alike. The real innovation wasn't just in the machines, but in how Germany used them. Tanks were no longer just lumbering support for infantry, they became the spearhead, the tip of the spear that punched holes in enemy lines and drove deep into their territory. Heinz Guderian, a visionary tank commander, was instrumental in this shift. He argued passionately for massed armored formations, believing that concentrated power could break through and exploit gaps in enemy defenses, creating chaos and confusion. The Allies, meanwhile, were stuck in old thinking. They spread their tanks thin, using them mostly to support infantry rather than as independent strike forces. Their command structures were rigid and centralized, with orders flowing slowly from the top down, making it hard to react quickly to fast-changing situations on the battlefield. The Germans, by contrast, empowered junior officers to seize opportunities on the fly, what they called Auftragstaktik. This doctrine encouraged initiative and quick decision-making at every level. This flexibility let Blitzkrieg adapt in real time, turning chaos into advantage. German units could change plans instantly, responding to the unpredictable nature of battle. The Allies prepared for a slow, methodical chess match. The Germans flipped the board, rewriting the rules of engagement with speed and surprise. The result? A doctrine that moved faster than anyone could react, leaving confusion and panic in its wake. Blitzkrieg wasn't just about machines or tactics, it was about a mindset that embraced innovation, risk, and the element of surprise. That's what made it revolutionary, and ultimately devastating for those who faced it. The world's first taste of Blitzkrieg came with the invasion of Poland in September 1939. It was a moment that would change the course of history, as the world watched in disbelief at the speed and ferocity of the German assault. Over 1 million German troops surged across the border, supported by thousands of tanks and relentless air attacks from the Luftwaffe. The Polish defenders, brave but outmatched, faced a storm of steel and fire that seemed almost unstoppable. This campaign wasn't about tanks crushing cavalry, as some myths suggest. Instead, it was about outmaneuvering the enemy, using speed, surprise, and tight coordination between ground and air forces to shatter defenses before they could react. German panzers smashed through from both the north and south, while the Luftwaffe bombed railways, bridges, and command centers, paralyzing Polish response and cutting off vital lines of communication and supply. Within a week, German forces were already nearing Warsaw. Instead of grinding through every defensive line, they bypassed strongpoints, leaving pockets of resistance isolated and unable to regroup. Then, on September 17, the Soviets invaded from the east, sealing Poland's fate and dividing the country between two powerful invaders. In just 4 weeks, Poland was conquered. Its cities lay in ruins, its people under occupation, and the world left reeling from the speed of the German victory. The campaign revealed flaws, coordination issues, vulnerable tanks, and logistical challenges, but it proved the concept of Blitzkrieg could work, even if imperfectly. The world watched in shock, but many Allied leaders dismissed the campaign as a fluke, believing the Polish defeat was due to their weakness, not German innovation. They failed to recognize the revolution in warfare unfolding before their eyes, ignoring warnings from their own military observers and underestimating the threat. That mistake would soon cost them dearly, as the lessons of Poland were ignored rather than learned. Blitzkrieg had passed its first brutal test, leaving a devastated nation in its wake, and sending shockwaves across Europe. The real storm, however, was yet to come. The world had only witnessed the beginning of a new and terrifying era in warfare. After Poland, the war paused, until Germany struck north in April 1940. Denmark fell in 6 hours, barely a battle at all. The real target was Norway, vital for its coastline and resources. Here, Blitzkrieg adapted paratroopers seized airfields, the Luftwaffe dominated the skies, and German troops landed by sea. The Allies tried to intervene, but German speed and coordination won out. Norway's ports and cities fell before the Allies could react. By June, Norway was under German control. The campaign showed Blitzkrieg's flexibility, even in mountains and fjords. Germany's reach and tempo stunned the world. The main event, the invasion of France, was next. The Allies were unprepared for what was coming. May 1940, Blitzkrieg's masterpiece, the invasion of France. The Allies expected a repeat of World War I, defending Belgium and the Maginot Line. The Germans deceived them, sending a feint into Belgium while the real attack punched through the impassable Ardennes. Panzer divisions broke through at Sedan, then raced for the English Channel, trapping the best Allied armies. The speed was staggering, hundreds of miles in days. Allied command, slow and centralized, couldn't keep up. The British barely escaped at Dunkirk. France was cut in two. In just 6 weeks, France, thought to have the world's strongest army, collapsed. The old rules of war were shattered. Blitzkrieg had rewritten the playbook. The world was forced to rethink everything it knew about modern conflict. The German victory was total and swift. The Allies were left in disbelief. The era of trench warfare was over. The age of lightning war had arrived. Blitzkrieg's power came from integration. Tanks, planes, and motorized infantry working as one. Stuka dive bombers led the way, smashing defenses and terrifying troops with their sirens. Panzers punched through, bypassing strong points instead of getting bogged down. Motorized infantry followed, mopping up resistance and securing gains. Each element depended on the others: tanks for breakthrough, planes for support, infantry for consolidation. Without this harmony, the advance would stall or be cut off. The Allies couldn't match this level of coordination in 1940. Blitzkrieg was more than firepower. It was a perfectly timed assault. That's what made the German army so formidable. The world had never seen such a seamless war machine. Communication was Blitzkrieg's secret weapon. Nearly every German tank had a radio, allowing real-time coordination and rapid response. French tanks, by contrast, relied on flags or shouted orders, hopelessly slow. Auftragstaktik, mission-type tactics, empowered German officers to act on initiative, not wait for orders. Mobility was the other key. Panzer divisions had motorized supply lines and engineers to keep the advance moving. The relentless pace exhausted the enemy, denying them time to regroup. Blitzkrieg was a race. Move faster than the enemy can react and you win. Superior communication and mobility turned chaos into opportunity. The Allies were left scrambling, always a step behind. Radios and roads made the difference between victory and defeat. The Lightning War was as much about information as firepower. That's why it worked. Until it didn't. For 2 years, Blitzkrieg seemed unstoppable, but it had limits. It worked best against centralized, road-bound enemies in small countries. The Battle of Britain exposed its first flaw. You can't drive tanks across the channel. The Luftwaffe failed to break the RAF and the invasion stalled. The real test came in 1941 with Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Initial German advances were huge, but the vast distances, poor roads, and brutal weather stretched supply lines to breaking. The Red Army, decentralized and resilient, absorbed losses and kept fighting. By winter the Germans were exhausted, their tanks stuck in mud and snow. Blitzkrieg was built for short, sharp wars, not grinding attrition. The strategy that conquered France couldn't conquer Russia. The Lightning War had met its match. The age of easy victories was over. The war would now be long and brutal. Blitzkrieg as a German strategy died outside Moscow, but its legacy endures. Its core idea, integrating arms for speed and shock, is now the foundation of modern warfare. Combined arms, rapid maneuver, and disrupting enemy command are standard practice worldwide. We saw its echoes in the Gulf War, where speed and deep strikes shattered the Iraqi army. Networked communication, today's digital radios, are Blitzkrieg's descendants. The lesson victory goes to the fastest, smartest, most adaptable force. Blitzkrieg proved that thinking and reacting faster than your enemy is the ultimate weapon. Its spirit lives on in every modern battlefield. The tactic that conquered France in 6 weeks changed war forever. That is Blitzkrieg's enduring and unsettling legacy.